I made 90% or more of all of my sales using a single conversation sales framework. And the reason it works is because it follows a normal conversation pattern and allows you to stay on track and keep control of the entire sales conversation. It's not a new framework. It's been around for a while. You actually probably have already heard of it. And if so, this should be a reminder of just how powerful it is. But if you haven't heard of it, you're in for something special. I call it the ultimate sales conversation framework, and it's what I've used to sell millions of dollars in my agency over the past 15 years. And it's what I train other agencies to do when they're selling to big clients, long-term contracts, because it's necessary in order to establish a position of control and confidence. All right. So the framework is GPCT-T. And the reason it's so effective is because you can use it in many different industries. Like I said before, it follows a normal conversation flow and it really puts the customer at the forefront of the process. The solution that you're about to pitch and provide to this lead has to be all about them and solving their problems. So this framework will allow you to uncover all of those and position yourself in authority before you ever pitch the product. All right. So what does this mean? Goals, plans, challenges, timeline, and consequences. If you follow this framework in your discovery while you're uncovering the problems before you pitch your solution, you will be the authority. You will be the one with the answer. And your chances of actually closing the deal skyrocket based on my own experience. All right. So the first thing is goals. I believe that goals is the most underrated piece of the sales process there is because no matter where you're at in the sales process, you want to point back to their goal. No matter what their objection is, you can ask the prospect, hey, didn't you say you wanted to do this or that? Right? You can always point back to the goals that they said themselves, and it's going to allow you to continue to push when things feel a little uncomfortable, or maybe when the prospect doesn't want to make a decision. Right? Remind them of their goals. So this is key. This has to be done first. And you want to dive deep. I've asked what a prospect's goal was in the past, and all they said was to make more money. That is not a goal. A rookie salesperson would take that as the goal and move forward, but that is not a goal. So I even say to the prospect, I say, that's not a goal. That's like a direction. That's a good direction to go in. But what is a goal that we can set for the next 12 months or for the next 6 months? What is a goal that we can set that's going to take you towards that direction of making more money? Talk about the short term, talk about the long term, talk about milestones, find out why that's important to them, and really do this from a place of trying to understand the prospect. When you're selling a service that's going to be over a long period of time, you need to ensure that your conversation always comes back to this time period. So when you're asking about goals, ask about their 12-month goals. Ask them how these goals align with their vision, align with the direction they want to take the company, right? If they're still being vague, ask about specific metrics. Even if it's the easiest metric in the world, which is revenue, try and pinpoint an idea because everything you're going to pitch after this is going to be based on the goal that they define in this area. In most cases, if they don't have a goal, the company is just very small. Like the prospect may just be immature in their business journey. So you can actually come in and educate them and help them establish a goal. But you want to do this before moving forward. So next we have the plan. Logically, after you ask someone what they're wanting to do, you would want to ask, how do you plan on doing it? This is important because it gets the prospect to think about the plan. Not only that, but it's going to lead you into the next part of the framework. So in this step, it's important to ask specifically, what are the plans to get there? You said your goal is to double your revenue in 12 months. What are you going to do to get there? What's the plan? What's the strategy? What are the success metrics? How are you going to track whether you're making progress or not? Really dive in and see if this business owner is truly trying to reach that goal or not. And if they do, you want to know how they plan to. This will let you know how serious the prospect is early in the sales process. Because if they don't have a plan, they're just throwing ideas out. Maybe they don't even have a goal. They're just setting a direction. They just have a vision. Your sale is going to be much more difficult in that situation because this is not a seasoned business professional, which oftentimes is the case. In my agency, 90% of who we worked for were home service companies, big and small. So we saw a little bit of everything. Not everyone we brought on to a sales call was the perfect business professional. But really getting them to talk through their plans makes their goal more concrete. And when you do reference back to the goal at any point in the sales process, you've already established this goal as something they truly want to get. Now we're just talking through the steps of how they plan to get there. So the next part is one of my favorite parts because we've got the goal, we've got the plan. Now we're talking about what are some of the roadblocks that may come up while you're trying to reach that goal. You just talk to the prospect about their plan. They know that plans never go perfectly as written down on paper. So what are some of the obstacles, the pitfalls, the risks that are involved with their plan? And you want to get them to tell you these things because what they're going to do is tell you the pain points, tell you the weak areas, tell you their weaknesses. And each of these things you're going to use to your advantage when you pitch your product. And when I say advantage, I don't mean by trying to trick them into buying. I'm simply saying when you pitch your product, you need to speak their language. You need to speak to their goals, their plans, and their challenge. If you're an effective salesperson, you're already doing it. And never settle for just one roadblock. There has to be more. Ask more questions to try and get them to realize that the plan is not going to be easy. Achieving the goal is not going to be easy. And asking these questions are really simple. It's just, what do you think will get in the way of you achieving the goal? What are some obstacles you think will come up while you're executing the plan? What do you think will be the biggest roadblock or bottleneck as you go through this plan or as you're trying to reach the goal? Very simple question. Timeline is very important and it's easy to skip over because most of the time it's assumed that we're just going to start right away. But it's very important for two reasons. Number one, getting a timeline from the prospect will help you avoid that objection. In some cases, I've talked with a prospect, we get to the close, and it turns out they're actually not ready to start until 3 months because maybe they're in a contract or they're in some agreement or something, and they can't actually start for 3 months. So we ended up wasting a lot of time on the pitch and the entire sales call because they actually couldn't even pull the trigger right then. So having the conversation about timeline is going to help you avoid that. Number two, it's going to allow you to drive urgency. A lot of the times with a prospect, you'll assume that the sale or the project is going to happen right away. But in some cases, it needs to happen faster than that. So discussing timeline is going to help you with those things, as well as the decision-making process. Depending on who your prospect is, what type of company they are, they may not be able to make a decision right away, even if they want to. Maybe they have to take it to the board. Maybe they have to talk with their partners, whatever it is. If you don't have those people on the call and they can't make the decision right away, it's important to talk about how soon can you implement this if it's a go. Not only just how soon do you want to implement it. In the plans portion of this framework, you can ask about what methods they're doing currently to advertise. You can ask about what their budget is. You can get those ideas. But even if you don't get the budget or they don't have one or they just don't want to disclose it to you, most prospects are pretty open about the time restrictions. So ask the questions, understand the timelines. That way you can use it to your advantage in the sale. Lastly, we have consequences. And this one is huge. And sometimes it's a little awkward to ask. But if you want to be an effective salesperson, if you want to sell to bigger clients and you want to sell longer retainers, then you have to ask this question. What happens if they don't implement their plan? What happens if they don't work with you? What happens if they don't reach their goal? If they don't hit the milestone? If they don't start on time? Everything that we've talked about with the prospect up until this point, we can now use in our consequences portion of the framework. Even if it's not directly related to revenue loss, there is opportunity loss. There is time being lost. Even if you worked for free and they signed on and you worked for them for 3 months and it did not work out, they did not lose money, but what did they lose? They lost time and they lost opportunity. And this is the same whether you're working with them or not. So get them to talk about their plans, their goals, and ask them what is going to happen if it doesn't pan out the way we would like it to. Does that mean you have to lay people off? Does that mean you have to shut down the business? Is that what are those things? So take the time, ask the question, let the prospect think through these things. And by the time you've gotten to this point, you went through the entire framework. Not only do you have solid ammo for your pitch and your objection handling, but you've made the prospect walk through reality. You've made them walk through their plan. You understand their goals. They know what happens if it doesn't pan out. Now you are positioned to come in and save the day. You are positioned to help them reach their goals, integrate with their plans, help them avoid the challenges, all within the time frame that you discussed. All you have to do is go in and pitch the solution. So don't skip any steps. Go through each one and don't let yourself be okay with the first answer. When they give you an answer, dig deeper. Ask why 5 times. If they say they want more money, ask them why. If they say they want to add more employees, ask them why. If they say it needs to be done in a month or less, ask them why. The more time you invest into discovery, the higher chance of success you're going to have in the sale. Your pitch shouldn't take that long. So once you go through this sales framework, you move on to the pitch, you do the sit close, and then you close the deal. All right. So don't talk too much. Practice active listening. Ask open-ended questions. Do not ask a yes or a no. You can rephrase almost every yes or no question with an open-ended question. Tailor your approach to the prospect. In your pitch deck, even if it means just putting the prospect's company logo in your pitch deck, do what you can in the time that you have to tailor the approach. And lastly, as always, focus on value, not features. Be prepared to dive into features if they ask specific questions, but until they ask the questions, keep it high level, keep it high value, and don't get stuck in the weeds. Dig deep, keep your side of the conversation short, don't rush through the process, and make sure you discuss consequence. These are things that will destroy this framework. If you don't follow the framework start to finish, it doesn't work as well. All right, so the best things you can do right now is practice role playing, create a question bank so you're not asking the same question over and over again. You can go through the framework and write down 3 to 5 questions in each, and you can just ask those. Anticipate what the answer will be, and you can go ahead and write your deep dive questions as well. Lastly, review your sales videos all the time. I can't stress this enough. After a sell, whether it's good or bad, watch it again, listen to it while you run, whatever you got to do, get into the mind of yourself in that moment. It's going to help you tremendously. All right, guys, that's all I have today. If you need help with any of this, if you need help with sales, if you want to sell bigger clients, longer retainers, reach out to me. Until the next video,